Hello, welcome to today's cue breakdown. We're looking at scoring two pictures, specifically the Crow Hill competition that Christian Henson put out the other month. And what the competition was compose a track to their trailer. So they stripped out the music that was originally there and said, go at it, do your worst. So I had about 4 hours working on this, I think. The first 50 minutes you can see in real time because that was the other week's video for real-time composing. And don't forget, if this is your sort of thing, like and subscribe is always appreciated. I've laid this out slightly differently. Previously, you will have seen the cue breakdowns with all the similar parts pretty much next to each other. But here we've got risers, here we've got damage all over the place doing different bits and pieces. And I thought I'd leave it like this in this order because it sort of shows my thought process as I was going through putting the cue together. What I'll do is at the end, I will play this through and flick through the different parts so you can see where they're coming in and out. But I thought what would be useful to the first time is actually to see it in context with the video. So we'll get me out the way so I don't block anything. And you can see the music in action, as it were. Okay. Are you ready? Okay, there we go. A trailer put together for you. So, what have we got going on? So the first section, I think it might actually be useful to have this open at the same time so we can, hopefully it doesn't disappear. So this first section is the introduction of the library. So what we've got is these two loops here. Ignore the piano because you know I always put a piano in to try and compose stuff. So we've got this. So adding a background because I came up with a tempo of 100 BPM and it seemed to fit really well in terms of matching where things were happening on screen to actually fit with a beat. Although some of the hits, the text that pops up is not in line, so I've had to engineer that with my own hits, as you will see. The other thing that's going on in the background here is, well, it seemed churlish not to use some Crow Hill instruments in here. So we've got Cosmos. And then behind that, we've got Murmurations. So it gets slightly more intense. And as that tails off, we then go into mosaic bass and bring in a bass, but really low. If you are listening to this on a phone, you won't hear anything. There is a guitar riser in here, but it is really low in the mix. So it's quite hard to pick out in the context of the entire thing. Then we've got some risers that are going on. And that sort of fades out while we wait for the next bit of text to come in. Now, at the bottom, you'll see there's a Glock in here as well, because when I listen back to it at the end, so this is sort of like going down is like a timeline of how I added things. So when I went back to the beginning, I realized actually when it says playground, I wanted to have a little bit of Glock because it sounds a bit playful. So pop that in. In this middle section here, after the riser that we just heard fades down, what I needed to do was get into the next section by matching these hits, and you'll see they're not, that first one is on the beat, but the others are not, because it needed to match the way the words were coming up on the screen. So if you watch carefully, they match big, filthy, fat. Great. So that's how we get into what is sort of the second section. And all this is Logic Drummer. And you'll see me do this in the real-time composing. What I started doing, I tried the heavy drummer to start with, and that was okay. So then I thought, well, maybe it needs to be a bit more electronic. But neither of them seemed particularly fast. What I actually did then in the composing video is I had both of them on just to see what it would sound like. And it seemed to fit really well. The only thing that was missing is when you see some of these images, there's a lot of different drums going on. So that's why I then decided to introduce these damage high loops here. Along with, well, let's look at these ones first because they come in first. So you see, when they're drumming on there, we've actually got a sound for them. The low loops that come in later, that was to add a bit more effect and, you know, growl there. There's one hit on this line, and it is literally because this poor chap here, as he hits his whatever big thing he's hitting with his big mallet, there was no sound that was happening at the time. So I've matched him up with a hit. There you go. So he can actually be heard. And that's how I went through it. So sort of an A section, sort of B section. At the end, you see my logic was working down to about this point here. And then to come out of it, obviously I was adding those low loops in, and then just put in the guitar effect and the low sub bass as well at the end to bring it sort of back together. I'll tell you what, I'll leave the picture down here. Hopefully it won't get too much in the way of the MIDI, but what you should be able to do this time is see and hear. In fact, I won't click through the MIDI, I'll just leave this. I'll tell you what, I'll leave it there. I'll make it bigger when the Glock's finished. Don't forget, if this is your sort of thing, like and subscribe is always appreciated. Let's hear it through again.